Welcome to 3 Steps. This is the second part of a 3-part interview with Adam Hibble, and in this one we're discussing trusting men and trusting women. We're also going to discover something that Adam learned early on. It's a little trick that helped him get more embodied, more clear, and actually start having a better time in his life. The other thing we're going to be discussing is core truths or terms. This is something we discovered at the beach. It's a little trick we learned, and once we started incorporating and getting clear around our core truths and our terms, it dramatically changed the way we communicate with other men and how we walk through the world. So, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it.
Did you always trust men, or did you not trust men, and then there was a time period where you learned to trust men, and if so, what was that like?
For me personally, I never had trust issues with men.
Okay.
So my dad was really quiet,
Mm-hmm.
and he wasn't overly demonstrative, or he didn't talk to me much. He was pretty quiet, and when I did get in trouble, it was not a huge deal, and I wasn't scared for my life.
Yeah.
So I never really had trust issues with men. In fact, I probably had more overly trusting, because I was looking for information for them that could make me be more of a man and get more of the things that I want.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel big trust issues on the male side. On the feminine side, I had certainly trust issues with women. My mom left when I was 5 or 6. And then I got a stepmom that had a lot of her attention on her own kid, and so I had more trust issues with the feminine, and never really had a real hard time understanding women and or rather understanding the feminine.
What helped you bridge that gap?
I think what we were talking about earlier is just, instead of trying to compartmentalize or put people into boxes, actually being with someone and being curious and asking questions about them, generated a lot more understanding about what feminine aspects of the feminine world look like, how they come across, how communication's different, what are the subtleties between things, what are the interests for the feminine versus the interests for the masculine. I think the biggest probably gift is that you're actually enjoying the experience that you're in. So, for instance, I got introduced, and I'm with a group of 3 or 4 people at dinner, and there's a beautiful woman there that I like, and I'm 23 years old, and I have no idea how to talk to her, what to say to her, what's the right way to look,
walk up, approach, all the things, all the considerations,
and all these things are just going through the monkey mind constantly.
Yep.
And whether it's a woman, or it's a job, or it's friendship, or any of those realms, life is going like this. And you might get that thing that you wanted, maybe it's a date with this woman, or whatever the thing is you think you need at that moment.
Right.
But the real jewel is actually the process of being there, and actually fully being there.
Being in the moment and the experience of it. Yeah.
And the enjoyment. And that's where I found all the wisdom comes, is when you're there, you learn a lot more about yourself and about other people and the nature of beings and the nature of your being by being present. So for instance, I'm sitting with 4 people, I'm at a dinner, there's this beautiful woman, she's 23, I'm 23, I want to learn how to talk to her, how I can take her out, etc.
Yeah.
Instead of having all those questions running around, which they are going to be there no matter what, actually learning how to take a second, breathe, and get curious.
Yes.
Experience of being present, and then allowing yourself to get curious about both what you're experiencing and what you're noticing about them and what you're curious about them. That is much more powerful than anything I could have said.
Right. Anything
I could have done.
Yeah. Worn.
Anything I could have shown off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, all through my 20s and also through my early 30s was that experience of I thought this was the thing to try, and I tried this, and boy, that failed horribly, and I ended up looking this way, or this really worked, I'm going to do that again, and then it didn't work the next time.
Yep.
It's like, so life is evolving, and it's always in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And when I learned that I could just sit there, relax, have fun, have my attention on the people around me, be more interested than trying to be interesting.
Seriously? Oh my God.
So much more happened. There was so much more experience. There was so much more success. So many things, opportunities and things came out of the woodwork that I would have never expected. I would have known to want that, let alone what tools I could use or ask other people about to get that.
Would have been totally unaware that was even available to you because you were too busy being caught up in all the monkey chatter and in the trying.
Right.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, it's good stuff. We grew up, in the same circles. We came up together. We've known each other for almost 20 years now. And it's the same. I've been sharing this conversation over and over again, and there's that moment of like we were so in the conversation of what it meant to be a man, and to be a man, how's a man be, and
right.
And then there was this like we were just being, we were just doing, we were just in the act of, and stopped being in the question of. And so it's interesting to hear you're now the third guy that I've interviewed that has said something very similar.
It would be so nice if you and I now could have been, with us back then and said, by the way, being a man the way you think is not important.
It is really not that important.
Learning how to be you fully, understand your nature, and then
understand your
come
truth.
from a place where you can be respondable to anything that comes your way. That's what's important.
I wish I'd brought this up yesterday in a couple of interviews. We put a lot of emphasis on figuring out our personal truths. And we put a lot of emphasis on not imposing my values over you, or you not imposing your values over me. And that led to a conversation with all of us about core values, core truths. And did you have a clearer understanding when you were younger, like what your truths were, or what was your?
No fucking clue.
Yeah.
No clue.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious. When did you get an idea about core truths? Because for me, every time I thought I got some core truths, like terms, what's the makeup of me as a man? Where am I politically? Where am I socially? Where am I emotionally? What works for me? What doesn't? As soon as I thought like I could almost start writing this down. I could make a list of it. Like I have these 15 bullet points. I know these are terms of mine. 4 years, 5 years pass, and then you look back at those terms or that list, whether you wrote it down or not, and you're like, 90% of this is so meaningless now, and now these are my terms. And I was thinking about that the other day of like, I was having a conversation with my wife, and I was like, we were talking about, and she talks a lot, and I do a fair amount of listening, and then she, the specific point I mentioned to her, I said, look, I get all these different mixed signals from you on a regular basis, and I'm perfectly fine with that. And I know for me that I'm relatively slow, runs deep kind of person, and that I'd rather just have things straightforward and as direct as possible. And I know that works for me. And I remember when I was saying this to her, and she's nodding. She's like, "Yeah, we know this." And she's like, And I remember this point where I was thinking like, you know, I'm 45 now. I remember like in my mid 30s where like that was important to me for people to really understand, like, if you want to relate to me, don't give me a bunch of bullshit, smoke signals and all this reading between the lines
bullshit, yeah.
Right, bureaucracy stuff.
Yeah.
Like, just come straight to me.
Yeah.
That's the way I want it.
Yeah.
You don't give it to me that way, good luck.
Yeah.
Relating.
Yeah.
and I wanted to define that, like that was important.
Yeah.
And now over time, it's like, yes, I know that's my nature.
Yeah.
I know that's my nature.
Yeah.
I can grow into other ways, and that's my nature. I don't have to reinforce that with other people.
Right.
As a, you know, if we're going to relate, it's going to be this way.
Yeah. Running around, this is my flag. I am this.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a difference between like trying to put your flag in the ground, right, which is kind of like an early masculine attempt. Like, this is my flag, this is what I stand for.
These are my beliefs.
These are the things I'm going to push, right?
Yeah.
Whereas just knowing, quietly knowing, these things kind of work for me. This is how I operate.
Yeah.
And that may change over time.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean anything. I'm still able to respond in multiple situations, multiple types of communications or demands.
Yeah.
And knowing that, quietly knowing that, and just being in a space where like, this is kind of where I'm at right now, and it's meaningless.
Yeah. We were so, back in the day in our 20s, everything had to have so much meaning. Everything had to be so like, you know. And I think when me starting Forge and creating Forge and getting clear around, I've got these young guys in my group, and I want them to get what we got, but I don't want to do it in the way we did it.
Yeah.
Because the way we did it was just like, it has to be written in stone, and it's got to be like this, it's got to, and like, we're human, we're messy, we evolve. And so long as we have a starting point, like, sure, write out your core values.
Right.
Discuss them. Have your friends poke at them and jab at them and make sure that they're really yours and not regurgitated shit your mom and dad told you or your priest told you, you know, right? Like, make sure that it's your truth, and then go, okay, that's that today.
Yeah.
You know, next week it may not be that, but to get to that place of having a starting point is somewhere to work with. Starting the conversations where you start looking at yourself and start including your peer group in holding you to what you say is your truth, as opposed to, you know, like, you know, I was an adamant stand. You're not gonna fucking tell me who I am and what I believe. You're not gonna fucking impose your values on me. Fuck you, you know. Right. And it was like,
and if I push hard enough, John will throw me out the window.
Right. Physically. Right. I will physically chuck your ass. Fuck you.
Right. We'll be friends the next day, but I'll be picking glass out of my.
Right. But the thing that I think is important is that our guys took that on. And our guys got clear, like, oh yeah, the questioning of myself, getting to know me, getting to know what's true for me, that slowing down, that being able to, when you are confronted with the experience of the challenge of that thing, it's not work, you're not thinking, you're just being.
Right.
That's beautiful. And getting
like
to that.
You have working distinctions. It's a good template to play from because it takes a lot of the chatter out.
Yeah.
And has you be able to act and respond quicker.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that one. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Hit the bell so you can get reminders. And by all means, join us on our discussion group this coming Sunday. If you haven't joined the group yet, go to Facebook and you'll find us at 3 Steps Conclave. That's 3 Steps Conclave. All right, we'll see you in the next video. Bye.